Hello YouTube and welcome to my first tutorial. My name's Matt. You might know me better as Blender Man on blenderartist.com. I started posting these low poly renders here a while back. I think it was on the 14th, and got a request for a few tutorials. Well, actually I got a request for the tutorial on this one or the floating islands render that I did. I decided I'd go ahead and do this one. So we're going to go ahead and make the picture you see right here. So go ahead. We're going to try to recreate it. We might not get it exactly perfect. But anyways, go ahead and open up Blender. We're going to go full screen. Alright. Got a new scene. Let's go ahead and delete the default cube. Now the first thing I like to do when I'm doing these renders, go ahead and click on my camera and I come over here. And you see the rotation that it starts with. It's 63 and all these weird percentages. It's facing the cube. I like to zero it out. So I come up here and I go 90, 0, and 0. And that just zeroes out my camera so I don't have to worry about it being perfectly straight. So we're going to go into the camera view and go ahead and grab and hit the center button. Oh, I need to turn my screencast keys on for you guys. Nope, screencast keys is on. I don't know why you can't see it. Hold on just a second. Aha! Alright, bear with me, this is my first tutorial. Anyways, alright, so we got screencast keys on. Alright, so we got the camera right about here. I'm going to go ahead and split the view. We're going to go into cycles. Go ahead and turn this on rendered. Alright, so that gives us this view here to work with. I like to go ahead and turn box rendering on over here in your display. Turn the border rendering on for the camera. Go ahead and that should be good for now. We'll go ahead and turn the sampling. We'll turn the preview on to 1000. Alright, so we're going to come over here. We're going to go ahead and get our lighting set up and everything ready. So we're going to go to the world panel. We're going to hit use nodes. We're going to come down here and we're going to click sky texture. And I honestly, before I started doing these low poly renders, I had never messed with the sky texture really. I might have messed with it once or twice, but I found that it works really well for these. And we're going to go ahead and put the strength to 1.5. It just makes it a little brighter. Alright, so now that we got that done, let's go ahead and click on the lamp. We're going to set the lamp to sun, use nodes. We're going to set the strength to 5. You can go ahead and back it up just a little bit. Alright, so let's go ahead and add plane and scale the plane up. Somewhere, go ahead and move the camera a little bit, grab Y, move it in just a little bit. Alright, we're going to go ahead and hit Shift X, go ahead, just so you can get it out of the view of the border here. Alright, so we're going to start making the ground. So we're going to go in the edit mode, we're going to go W, subdivide, and I'm going to subdivide it 10 times here. There might be a better way to do that, but this is how I do it. And we're going to subdivide it one more time, and one more time after that. Alright, so now we're going to start working on the hills. So when I did mine, when I did my original one, I wanted to do a river running through it. So actually over here on the side where you couldn't see where the camera was, where you saw that wood running across there, that was like a I don't know, like a little bridge or walkway going over a river. We're not going to do that. We're just going to go ahead and do everything else. I'll go ahead and grab that vertice somewhere in there, right about there. we'll turn proportional editing on. Let's just go ahead and grab it, and we'll do this right here. Let's see. Yeah, let's go down a little bit with it. Let's try that right there. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a texture so I can see what I'm doing. Give it kind of a, it's almost a sandy brown color. Alright, let's try that again. Let's go ahead and drag this side up. So if I remember correctly, that side was up like that. Okay. We'll go ahead and grab, let's grab down here. Grab that. Make a hill right there. We'll grab here, make a little hill right here. That should work. Alright. Now that you've got your hills, let's go ahead and add the modifier. We probably should add the modifier first, but it really doesn't matter. Go ahead and put a displace modifier and put a new texture, and that is what it's going to do. If you are new to Blender, that's going to look totally weird. If you've used Blender before, then you're used to it. We're going to drag the strength down. Let's drag it down to about, I don't know. I like to use even numbers. 0.15. Boom. Call it done right about there. Now, not sure. 0.14. 0.12 maybe. Yeah, that'll work. 0.12. We'll turn it right to about there. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get the grass set up. And zoom back so it'll render a little quicker. Alright, so go ahead and select your plane, your ground plane, and we'll come over here to the particles and go ahead and start new particles. Alright, so now that we've got that done, we are going to do is, you don't need to mess with any of that. We're going to go ahead and turn it to hair type. We're going to go advanced. Unclick even distributing because you don't want it even. We're going to go ahead and hit random. And as you can see, the hairs are megally huge. They're really big. So we're going to come down here to the normal, and we're going to go 0.190. There we go. Alright. Let's see. Don't need any of that. Don't need any of that. Alright, we're going to come down here to the size, and we're going to go 0.02. And then we're going to go on the random, we're going to go 0.02 also. I'm not sure, it says it gives them a random variation, so it just, on the random variation, it just, see how some of them are turned? See how that one's curved and that one's straight, and some of these, that's just all it does. We're going to turn the brownie in up to 0.2 also, or 0.02. That gives it a little wave effect. I'm actually not sure. Yeah, a little wave effect. Kind of gives them motion. We're going to come down. Go ahead and close that panel. We don't need that now. We'll go ahead and hit Material 2 on the grass, even though we don't have a Material 2 set up yet. You want to hit Strand Render. Don't forget that. And you also want B-Spline. B-Spline and Strand Render. It just makes it look better whenever you finish rendering it. Come all the way down to the Cycles Hair Rendering. And we're going to go to the root, and we're going to put 0.22. 0.22. And that's going to thin them out, as you can see here how thin they are. I'm just showing you kind of the process I did of how I made it, but I'm also going to help you to go ahead and make a scene kind of like it. Alright, so we got that. I don't mess with tip. I go ahead and leave the close tip on. We don't mess with shape or anything like that. Alright, here's the next part, and that is children. So the horrible children that destroy my computer. Actually, they destroyed my old computer. Alright, so you're going to go ahead and hit simple, and if you have a fast computer, it's not going to hurt your computer any. If you have a slow computer, it might. Go ahead and go back into camera mode. Go ahead and turn the display down to 1, even I do that. And I'm going to turn the render down to 60. Because we don't need 100% of the render of the children. Alright, so we're going to come down here to clump. We're going to go -0.05. Right? Clump, yes. No, -0.5. We're going to come down. Alright. Shape we don't need to mess with. Length, we're going to go 0.9. Let's see, my threshold, we're going to go 0.5 on that also. We're going to come over here. Don't mess with the uniform, leave that alone. We're going to go size to 3. Our endpoints, we're going to go 0.005. That should work. On our shape, let's go 2. And the random, 0.005. Let's do 0.005 on both of those. And back on our size, we're going to do 3 also. Don't think we need to mess with anything else. I think that should be good right there. Yeah, that looks good. And I'm sorry if I sound monotone or, you know, if I'm boring. This is my first tutorial, so just bear with me. Alright, so I think we're done with all that. Go ahead and leave that display alone. If your computer's lagging, you can go ahead and hit right here above the children. You can hit the display and you can turn that down, and it'll eliminate how many particles are displayed in your viewport mode. Alright, let's go up here, go back to our materials panel, and go ahead and hit the plus. We're going to make a new, and we're going to make a green color. And for my grass, I didn't use a dull color like everything else. I went ahead and did a dark, almost right about there. That should look good. Yeah. And for some reason it didn't keep the material too. Okay. If it didn't give it the material, go ahead and go back over and click it, and it'll go to it. Alright, maybe a little darker. Alright, let's go ahead and do a test render and see what that looks like. So we'll go ahead and hit render. Give it a minute. And it's going to build a BVH. We're going to see how that looks. Alright, only one thing I forgot to tell you before you render it out. Come back over here to the particles, and this is where it might crash your computer. As far as the settings on anyone else's computer, I don't know. I set mine at 10,000. I don't know if anyone else's computers can handle it, but that's what I set mine to. Alright, let's try to re-render that again. I found 10,000 worked just fine. If I go over 10, you don't need more than 10,000, especially with children particles, because it just adds way too much to the scene. If you start going up into 20 and 30,000, it'll crash your computer. Give it a minute to build the BVH. I'm going to try not to make this into a long tutorial. I can't promise anything though. There it goes. There we go. Now we have grass. And remember, this isn't going to be exactly looking exactly like the the red force that I did, but we're going to get kind of close. That'll work. That should work right there. Alright, go ahead and not let that finish rendering. If you want to let it finish rendering, you can, just to see how your scene's going to look. I'll go ahead and move my camera a little bit for now. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and set back to rendered. Alright, now for the trees. Now I'm going to show you how I did the trees. When I did my first scene, the floating islands, somebody had mentioned that the trees were too square. They didn't look rounded enough. So I decided to round them off a little bit. So we're going to go add, mesh, and we're going to go circle. And we're going to pull the panel open here. And where it says vertices, we're going to put 5. That's going to give us an octagon. Go ahead and plug my computer in here so I don't kill my battery. Alright, and you have an octagon. Alright, so modeling the trees. You can model it here, or you can take it into a different layer and model it. It's up to you. I go ahead and model it in scene because I can go ahead and see it better when I'm modeling it. Oh, turn your proportional editing off. Don't forget that. Alright, go ahead and hit E, extrude it, and we're going to drag it up. Go ahead and go into front view. I'm going to go into orthographic. Alright, we're going to shrink it in. Bring it down a little bit. And extrude it again. Shrink it in a little bit more. Not too much. And go up one more time. Alright, and that's going to be the main base. Now to get the branches off the side like I did, you're going to hit Control R. And we're going to make a cut loop right there. And we're just going to grab these. We're going to extrude. Shrink it down a little bit. Extrude again. Shrink it down a little bit more. Maybe extrude one more time. And that should work right there. If you want to, you can go ahead and do another one. We'll do another one just because we can. Do 2 cut loops right there, and we'll grab from here. We'll extrude it up, rotate it a little bit, extrude it up again, rotate it a little bit more, and extrude it up again. It doesn't need to look perfect. It's low poly. It's not going to look perfect. Of course, that's the whole point of low poly. Alright, now for the leaves. I'm going to go hit Add, Mesh, and we're going to do an icosphere. Not a UV sphere, but an icosphere. Just found that icospheres, because it has triangles, it seems to work better when you add a Displace modifier to it. So, we're going to scale it up a little bit. Go ahead, go to your modifiers tab, add a Displace, give it a new texture. And now, by your preference, you can do, if you wanted to leave it like that, maybe scale it up in the Z, you could. I go into edit mode and I subdivide it twice. And that's going to give it really crinkled, almost like crinkled up paper. And we're going to bring the strength down. Let's bring it down to 0.8. Yeah, that should work. Alright, let's go ahead and give it a new texture, new material. And we're going to give it, in the original render, I gave it a bright red, like neon red. If you want to do a neon red, you can. We'll go ahead and do almost an orangey red. I think an orange would look cool on this. Almost like a phoenix red. That looks kind of cool. Yeah, we can do something like that. Alright, and then we're going to Shift D, copy it, we're going to shrink it down, and we're going to put it right on top of that one. and we're going to Shift D one more time and bring it over here, and we're going to bring it right on top of that one. And there's your tree. Let's go ahead and give the trunk, let's go ahead and give it a material. Let's give it a brown color. And give it a little darker. And maybe a little darker. You remember it's low poly. Most of the time in a low poly render, if you go look up any kind of low poly render on Google, majority of the time the colors they're bright, but at the same time they're faded, almost like colored paper. They're a faded color. I choose to use really bright colors, but in the last one that I just posted, the Dare to Imagine, I did fade the colors on that one a little bit. Alright, so let's go ahead and grab that object, and we'll just set it right. We'll set it down, go ahead and bring it down where it's kind of hiding in the mesh a little bit, and go ahead and bring it a little closer to the camera. Go ahead and position it right. I think I had it. No, the other one I had it right about there, something like that. Bring it over just a little bit. Go ahead and bring our camera back just a little bit. Oh. There we go. Alright, let's go ahead and grab that. Now the trick that I use to get it to look like the trees are real far away is I go ahead and shift multiply that, and I'll bring it, drag it over here. Maybe make that one a little bigger. That looks kind of cool. But remember, we want to be able to see the moon in the background, so we'll drag it right about there. Alright, my trick, go ahead and shift multiply another one. My trick to making them look like they're really far away when really my scene's only this big, so go ahead and bring it over, and then we'll scale it down. And then you just drag it down until it's inside the mesh, and until it looks good. I mean, you just gotta play with it. We'll bring it over here a little bit. Maybe shrink it down a little more. Yeah, something like that. And then we'll hit Shift E, and we'll bring another one over here. Maybe scale that one just a little bit, give it a different, drag it back a little bit. And basically that's all I did for the whole scene. So let's see if I can speed this up a little bit. So hit Shift D, bring another one over here, shrink it down, bring it out, bring it down, Shift D, bring another one over here. Kind of fill in. You want to fill in the gaps. You want to try to fill these gaps in. I mean, you want to see sky, but you also want to see trees at the same time. So you want to try to fill the gaps in. So let's bring another one over here. While I'm working over here, I'm watching what's going on in my viewport over here in my camera. That looks kind of cool. Let's go ahead and Shift D, bring one a little closer, and scale you up, make you real big. Go ahead and bring him over here like that. Shift D, scale it down, bring it down. Oop, too much. Scale it down. Oop, let's go ahead and bring it down. Sorry, I wasn't grabbing, I was paying attention to the other side. Shift D. Now, for those of you that don't have a good CPU, this might get kind of CPU intensive. I'm just showing you how I did it, and if you want to follow along and make the same scene, then you can go for it. I want a few more trees up close, so I'm going to shift D and I'm going to bring a tree right here and I'm going to scale it way up. I want a shadow coming across because I want to be able to see, you know, you want it to look like there's trees over here even if they're out at the viewport. We'll just bring that one in like that. Yeah. Let's go ahead and bring it up. Nope. Down. Yeah. Like that. And I want to bring one more right here. Bring one more right there. Alright, that should start to look pretty good. Let's go ahead and do a test render, and if you want it to render faster while you're doing your test renders, go ahead and go over here to your camera and come down to where it says film and hit transparent, and what that'll do is it'll just make the background not render. Let's go ahead and do, oh, before I forget, and I try to make a habit of this and I completely forgot, go ahead and save. I'm going to save this as tutorial 1. I started doing this tutorial and then I ended up stopping, so I'll go ahead and save it as tutorial 1. Alright, now that we've saved, go ahead and try to do a test render and we'll see what it looks like. Usually takes a minute to build the BVH. Let's see. Yeah, it's building. Yeah, most, you know, even though this is low poly, most of these renders that I do, they're somewhat complex and then they're somewhat not complex. Now I know I've had a couple people say, you know, that they said the grass looked too real. And I do agree that the grass might look a little too real. But I like to be different, and so I like my grass, even though it's a low poly render, I like my grass to look real, or as real as possible. Rendering it. Let's see here. Okay, one thing I would like to fix, I'm going to go ahead and stop the render. My grass, to me, my grass looks too tall, so I'm going to go ahead and select this, and I'm going to go to the particles, and I gave it a normal of 0.19 in the red forest render. Let's give it just 0.1. Let's see, that looks better. That looks more real. Let's go ahead and do another test render of that real quick. I'm just doing my test renders at 10. I'll go ahead and do a test render of that. See if see how it looks. Yeah, there for a while back I'd been doing a lot of renders, and it was on a older laptop, and the renders just, they looked bad. They took forever, and I mean forever to render, and it just took too long to render. And I recently got a MacBook Pro and started doing new renders again. Alright, now we're running into the issue of we're seeing the dirt. So what are we going to do to fix that? We are going to, alright, let's go ahead and escape out of that. That looks awful. go halfway. Let's go 0.15 and call that good. So I'm rendering at 10,000. I'm going to check everything, make sure I'm good. Yep, everything's good. Alright, well, anyways, go ahead and set your normal to 0.15. Depending, now I am going to tell you, depending on the scale that you scaled your plane to, you might have to tweak the normal. I noticed that now that I've been playing a lot with the hair particles, depending on the size, if I was to scale that, it would mess with how my particles are set. So depending on how big you scaled your plane, depends on what the normal for your velocity needs to be. So just play with that. I'm going to set it at 0.15 and that should be good. Alright, let's go ahead and add the moon. We're going to add mesh. We're going to do another icosphere. We're going to scale it way up. Really big. That might be too big. Go ahead and back it up out of the way there. We're going to back it way up. Oh, let's go ahead and set the camera how I had it set. When I had it set, go ahead and zoom in. Bring it down. Bring it down on the Z-axis. And rotate it on the X, and I had it kind of pointing up so that it was looking up at the moon. That way you can make the moon bigger too. Try not to, if you want to do it exactly like mine, just try to keep it inside the viewport, and don't let it go behind the ground. Alright, let's go ahead and give it a displace modifier. Give it a new. Go ahead and subdivide it twice. And we're going to turn the strength down. Just something right about there. Go ahead and turn my render back on. And I'm going to turn my sky back on, because I like my sky. There we go. Well, it's looking something kind of like what I originally did. I see now that I've moved my camera, I have a bald spot right there where there's no trees. So let's go ahead and grab that on the X. Oh, still have my moon selected. Yeah, when I originally started doing these, I just wanted to do some kind of almost alien-like planet. And so that's why, I've got these floating planets and multicolored trees that look like something out of a Dr. Seuss. Now, Dr. Seuss has been a very big inspiration on doing these. I love Dr. Seuss, ever have since I was a little kid. And that's my inspiration for why I have so many vibrant colors and such weird trees in my renders. Go ahead and set a tree right there. I like that. That's looking good. Let's go ahead and I don't remember if I think I gave it a texture, and I gave it almost a kind of a light blue. Yeah, something like that should work. Just a light blue color. Alright, let's do a test render. Let's see what that looks like. That might take a minute. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of full screen because I know I'm going to have to pause this here in a minute. I'm not sure how to pause it. That'll be okay. When we do the full render, I'll go ahead and stop it, and then I will come back in and we will finish up the scene. Let's go ahead and do this test render before we do a full screen, before we do a full resolution. And building the BVH. Let's see what this looks like. Curious to see how this grass is going to turn around. I might have to bring the grass down. I'm hoping I don't. I hope the grass works. And the grass looks like it works. Go ahead and let it render out the whole thing real quick. It won't take it very long. Yeah, grass looks like it's working. Cool. Yeah, it's looking good. And I did in my in the red forest render, I had a lot more trees. If you wanted to go ahead and put more trees in, you can. I might go ahead and put some more trees in before I do my full resolution. I might put some right over here. I'm still seeing some bald spots on the ground though. Oh, did we turn? Yeah, I turned the brain up. I'm trying to think of what might be causing those bald spots. I'm not sure. Alright, that's going to look good. I'm going to go ahead and stop the render. Go back in the 3D view. Let's go look at the particles real quick. I got it set at 10,000. Maybe if you turn random off. I don't think I've ever done that. No, go ahead and leave random on. Let's check out the children. No, that looks good. You can do interpolated, but I've never found interpolated to look good as far as trying to do grass. I think to try and fix that, I'm gonna do 100% of my children particles, and I'm gonna do if you hit Control B, you can box select and just box select inside the camera here, and it'll render just that. And I want to do a test render of that just real quick. I want to see if doing 100% fixes the dirt issues. Let's see. And it takes my computer a little longer, especially when I'm running screencasts like this. It takes a little longer to render. Well, like I said, if my tutorial is boring, I'm sorry. I'm nervous enough trying to speak over the microphone, even though no one's watching me. I know a lot of people are going to watch this, so if you have any tips, leave them in the comments. I want to know what everyone has to say, so go ahead and leave them in the comments. We're going to see what this looks like after it finishes doing the BVH. Maybe. Do we get rid of it? Maybe. I was more worried about that hill over there in the corner. That hill right over here was showing a lot of ground. I don't mind seeing a little bit of dirt, like right there and right there, and there's a spot right there. But I don't want to see a big bald spot on this hill over here. So if I can eliminate that, we'll be good. Oh, also, I have had a couple requests for screensavers. So, if any of you would like any of my renders as screensavers, feel free to send me a private message, and just let me know what your screen resolution is, and I will render them out and send it to you. See, I'm still getting that bald spot right there. Alright, we're going to do something different real quick. Try not to make this into a long tutorial. Let's turn the threshold back to 0. Let's turn the radius back to 0. And let's try that. I'm just going to try to render out just that hill right there. I just want to see what's causing that. I think that might have fixed it. Come on, computer. Even for a MacBook, this is slow. It's got an NVIDIA GeForce in it, but I guess it's an older GeForce. I'm not sure, but it doesn't let me do GPU rendering in Blender. It says there's no device active. If anyone has any ideas of why that might be happening, let me know, because I'd like to be able to use my graphics card. That, and this is probably going to also be somewhat boring, considering that I wanted to show y'all every little. And actually, I mean, I build these scenes pretty quick when I'm doing these low poly scenes like this. It doesn't take very long at all. I can have one done maybe 2 hours. See, why is it? It's missing grass right there. Okay, we're gonna fix that. We're gonna take that hill and get rid of it. Go ahead and turn your proportional lighting on. If it's working for you, go ahead and keep it. I'm going to get rid of it because it is causing me a bunch of heartache, and I don't need it if it's going to do that. I'll go ahead and bring this hill up so I can hide that one. That looks more like the original render too by doing that. Go ahead and bring these trees down. Bring this tree down. Bring this tree down. Bring this tree down. Just so they look like they're somewhat out of view. This one can come down just a little bit more. That's just my depth of field trick that I do on here. That should fix it right there. Go ahead. Bring back my full camera view. That looks more like the original scene right there. Yeah, that should work. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and pause the render, or pause my screencast, and I will come back. We're going to go ahead and render this out in full resolution. Go ahead and leave your resolution when it's at 50%. Just come down here. I render them out at 1000. Go down to your light paths. If you want to, you can turn your bounces down to 3 to 2. And make sure you click no caustics. That'll help it render a little quicker. And also, performance 32 by 32 on your tiles. And that should be everything on that. Close all those, and alright, and we are back. And if you guys did go ahead and render out, this is what I ended up getting. If you guys went ahead and rendered out and you got big grass with a bunch of splotchy spots and the ground was all showing, go ahead, because I started to do mine and then I saw that it was going to do that. Go ahead and take your plane with your grass and just shrink it down. Shrink it down until the grass looks about, thick like that. That was my bad. That's what I was telling y'all earlier about, if your plane's too big, if it's big like this, then you're going to see the dirt because the grass isn't as close together and you're going to have to run more particles. So to fix that, just shrink it down. And then I just brought some of the trees in a little bit and did some other stuff. But yeah, that's what you're going to get right there. So there's the finished render. I don't ever do anything else unless it was the Fangles Monastery. I tried to do God Rays and they didn't turn out quite how I wanted them to, and did a bunch of compositing and it was a big pain in the ass. But no, that's what you're going to get right there. So hope y'all enjoyed the tutorial. Leave comments if y'all go ahead and do this tutorial. Go ahead and send me an image. I want to see what everyone does. So thanks, and I will see y'all later.